Hey there, this is the Small Fish, Big Podcast, a show for the gallus few who dream and do. If you're a small biz owner, a creative freelancer, or someone dreaming about leaving your 9-to-5, this is the podcast for you. Each week, I'll chat with an inspiring guest who will share their entrepreneurship story before we delve into a discussion about running a creative business. Thanks for tuning in. Hey, welcome back to the Small Fish Big Podcast. I am your host, Rhiannon Louden. When I am not busy interviewing other small business owners for this podcast, I am often out and about with my camera as a brand and product photographer, working with other small businesses on their brand strategy and planning out their content as well. So if this is your first time tuning in, this is the Small Business Podcast for the gallus few who dream and do. I am really proud of the fact that I am a small business owner. The terms may be a little bit cringy, but I definitely would call myself a small business champion. It's really important to me to support other small businesses, both professionally and in my personal life as well. And that was really my main reason for starting this podcast, to share inspiring stories of how other small business owners got to where they are today, and to share real life tips and ideas and advice that you can apply to your own business no matter what stage you're in. If you are joining again and you've listened in before, thanks so much for coming back. It would be a huge help to me and to the podcast if you would take a moment to leave a review or subscribe to the podcast so that you'll know whenever a new episode comes live. It would be great to help get the word out. So please, if you know any other small business owners who you think could learn a thing or two or use a little bit of inspiration, please do let them know that we're here. So today's episode is all about branding small business from the perspective of brand values, why they're important, how to incorporate them into your story, and how they can really help your business to grow and succeed. So without further ado, let's get started with episode 19. Today I am joined by Rebecca Miller, who is the founder and owner of Temple de Luna, a natural handmade skincare company. Thanks for joining us, Rebecca.
Thanks very much for having me.
Hey, well, rather than me try and ramble off what your business is all about, I will let the expert do that. Can you tell us a little bit about Temple de Luna?
Yeah, of course. So Temple de Luna is a small batch handmade skincare company that I launched last October, so it was back in 2019. And basically all my products are made from natural ingredients. They are vegan and cruelty free, and they're all handmade by me at home as well. So it kind of originally started out in my kitchen, but I've now been able to create a little kind of space in a spare room. So I'm just making all my small batches at home just now.
That is great. So you have already told me a little bit about how you got started with all of this, but I'll let you share your story because I think it's a really cool one. You basically found a hole in the market based on your own personal experience and found a way to fill it yourself. So tell us a bit about your journey.
So the inspiration for Temple de Luna basically started from, as you say, my own experience with problem skin. So when I was about 12 years old, right up until I was about 22, I suffered quite badly from severe acne. And I also had kind of bouts of psoriasis at the time, but the acne was definitely kind of the kind of worst of the two. And I kind of just constantly felt like I was at the doctor's all of the time. I was at the dermatologist office all the time, and I was just going through the same cycle where they would give me kind of medications, topical creams, steroids, antibiotics, just so many different kind of things were thrown at me to try and resolve this, but they would work for a couple of weeks and then I would be right back to square one. And I mean, this would be going as far as trying products for 3 to 6 months to give them a proper chance. And kind of around the time I was about 14 or 15, I started to get a lot more interested in kind of more natural ways of living. I kind of started on my kind of spiritual journey as well, and started to come across natural skincare and making your own skincare products at home. So that really piqued my interest because of everything that I was already kind of researching and learning at the time. And from there, I just started making my own products for myself. So the kind of main product I've been working on was my Tiara Balm, and I've been formulating that for about 3 years before I launched last year. And I've got the body butter out and I've got the face serum as well. But I basically found that when it came to using natural products and natural ingredients, my skin actually responded a lot better to them. And when it comes to formulating skincare products, it's really important to look at what your ingredients do, what kind of benefits and properties do they have that's going to benefit the skin. So it was really fun for me to kind of research the ingredients and kind of learn different things and build these formulas together. And I think just because they're a lot more natural, there isn't any kind of toxic chemicals and preservatives in my products either. My skin just responded so much better to it, and that kind of kick-started my journey into creating Tempo di Luna and launching my products for everyone.
I love your story. I love how it started from like just kind of experimenting on your own out of interest, and then how much you've learned over the years to actually start your own skincare line in your own business. So tell me a little bit about how you learned all of this and how you taught yourself, because to me, in my head, I can think, oh, I've heard this is really good for your skin, but I wouldn't know how to then take that information and then create a product from it. How did you learn how to do that?
I think it was just kind of an accumulation of lots of different research that I'd done over the years. So I kind of started, the balm was actually the first, in fact, I was going to say the balm was the first product I ever tried to make at home, but that was a lie. I would often make my own face masks at home. And when it comes to kind of formulating skincare, you basically work in phases. So without getting too kind of technical, there's certain things that, for example, if you were to put two oils together and one oil is warm, the other oil might not be able to withstand that heat. So you have to kind of work in block phases when you're building a formula. But for me, it was just kind of trial and error with a lot of things. I would try kind of certain ingredients with the balm and then kind of think to myself, well, I kind of want it to have this ability as well. So I would maybe incorporate something else. And really just kind of fine-tuning the processes as well, finding out what's kind of the most efficient way to make them, the kind of the easiest way, the safest way. And it just kind of went from there, just over the years, learning kind of different ingredients, different ways to formulate and things. It's just been lots of research.
And are there quite a lot of resources out there for this kind of stuff? Is it, was it going and buying books on it or online, or is there sort of in-person training, or whereabouts did you find the background info?
So a lot of it was online. A lot of it was on online resources. And I think with that as well, where things start to get a wee bit tricky is that you have to be very thorough that the information you're getting is legitimate information. All you have to do if you go onto, for example, Pinterest and type in homemade face mask or DIY face mask, there's thousands and thousands of pins that will tell you how to make a mask at home, but it's whether you can't just kind of, and I kind of learned that through my journey as well, you can't just throw products together and slap it on your face. You have to kind of make sure that they're compatible with each other. You have to make sure you're not going to have any chemical reactions and you're not going to have any kind of issues from using or putting together what formula you're creating. But there's lots of resources online. I've found a lot of suppliers as well tend to provide, they'll do like kind of workshop blogs, or they'll maybe do, they'll have their own formulas that they've created that people can kind of copy from. There are kind of companies that will run courses, so you can get online courses. I don't know if Centre of Excellence is one of them, but there are a few companies that do the kind of online courses for that sort of thing, and then you can get kind of longer term workshops. I think there's a company called, I can't remember what they're called now, but there's a company that's quite well known globally who do the kind of organics training. I think that course is about 3 years. And they have different kind of resources and things as well. So it's just kind of picking resources from kind of different areas, but really kind of fact checking and kind of like cross-referencing everything that you're learning to make sure the information's obviously true as well.
Well, and I'm sure it's like you say, there's going to be lots of trial and error. So, I mean, it's the same with photography. I could read all the books and do all the programs and all the training, but until I actually start trying things for myself and experimenting a little bit, and getting my hands dirty, I guess that's really the way that you learn and you develop what works for you. So I love that you've kind of taught yourself, and that you've gone out and found all this knowledge and taken on the experience. So that is really cool. So you've told us a little bit about how you've actually developed your products, but I'm curious how you decided to do this as a business, or sort of how you got to that point where you went, hey, this could be a business.
Well, it was quite synchronistic, to be honest, and the timings were just really, I think it's kind of almost as if the universe just aligned that I was kind of catapulted into this adventure. So basically, with my Tierra Balm, one of my sisters had really severe eczema, and I was just kind of sending her pots and pots of Tierra Balm over the years. It was as bad at the point where she wouldn't be able to do the dishes or the washing without wearing gloves, because her hands would kind of be on fire. Now she can do it without them. She can walk the kids to school without it. And my sister always said to me, you should make this into a business. You're onto something really good here. It's amazing for the skin. Look at what it's done for me. But I just kind of felt like I didn't have the time, or it was a wee bit too overwhelming to learn the legalities behind launching a cosmetics business as well. And then last year, before I kind of started in the care industry, which I do full time at the moment as well, I worked in management in contact centres. And one day I came into work and I found that I didn't have a campaign to run anymore. So they didn't have another manager's position for me at the company that I worked with. And I had basically been asked to take quite a drop in my salary and go online as an advisor. And that would have been until another management position was available. And I just kind of decided at that point, well, I'm maybe just going to have to go elsewhere. And I kind of left that day. I mean, it was on great terms, I kind of done my best with my team up until the very last minute of the shift, and it was all very amicable, but it just kind of felt like I was being kind of nudged in another direction. And I've kind of freaked out for about a week and a half, and then had kind of started thinking about launching some sort of business. And originally I wanted to do it like a kind of metaphysical shop where you'd buy crystals and incense and things. And I started kind of digging into that, and then just out of nowhere the thought came to me, I'm sitting on these products, why don't I actually do this as a business? And that was in kind of March last year, and then I decided about Temple de Luna in the April. And then between April and October was just spent with me. I was working part-time at that point, and that was me just planning the business and kind of the blueprint for Temple de Luna, how I was going to launch, kind of what sort of things I was going to do, the branding and things, find out how to actually legally launch a product to a market. So it was a massive learning kind of curve for me. Now, it was a massive challenge, but everything that I've learned from it is something that I can use for the rest of my days with Temple de Luna, so it's been really beneficial.
That's cool. And I think for most of us starting a small business, you had the added the added challenge of trying to figure out, as you say, the legalities of actually creating a product and a skincare product. And I imagine there's sort of a lot of background that goes along with that. But I think, what you said is so true, like the value that you got from learning all that yourself and setting all that up yourself. I mean, you have that with you forever. So as your business grows and develops, who knows, maybe one day you'll come up with another business. Like, it's something that once you learn it, you have it.
Exactly. So there's been a lot to learn from it.
So from where you set up, where you kind of got all set up and did your branding and picked your business name and all of that, how did you go from there to where you are now? How did you grow your business?
So for me, it's been quite kind of fluid. Again, being kind of very spiritual, I just kind of go with the flow, go with the will of the universe. I mean, it doesn't mean I kind of sit in my bottom and don't do anything, but for me, it was just a case of having the Tierra Balm product ready for launching, and that was launched. And I had started at that point, after I launched that product, I started planning my next launch for my next products. And I think for me as well, it was just kind of a case of taking it as it comes. You know, at first I kind of set quite high expectations for myself. This is what business life is like. This is how it's going to be. This is what my days are going to look like. And then it doesn't kind of turn out the way that you expect it. But I think that you go through different phases in your business as you